Okay. I talked about this on the Post-Duopoly show yesterday, and I'm going to be on Sabrina Sabi Sab's show later tonight.
She's great.
Yes, she is, and it's going to be a power panel. I'm going to be on Sabi Sab's show 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be her, myself, and, of course, entrepreneur, activist, former mayoral candidate twice, Jamal Green will also be joining us. We'll be talking about this horrific situation that I don't want to see play out. Former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel gearing up to run for president of these United States. Now, as a Chicagoan,
Sabby, a quick shout out real fast.
Go ahead.
I just want to say how impressed I was with how, when everything was collapsing in the Democratic Party and Trump last year, she didn't just fall back to establishment. She stayed strong on her own personal views. And a lot of people didn't. A lot of people fell back into, fine, I'll do establishment stuff because things aren't going well. And she didn't. Just want to give her a shout out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, look, I'm really looking forward to discussing this election or this potential Rahm Emanuel run with Savvy Sabs later today.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going to be clipping this video and sharing it right away, because I want to promote that interview that's going to be happening, and everyone tune in because that's going to be a heavy hitter, all power panel, because I'm not going to hold back. I'll try not to swear for this segment. I'll definitely try not to swear for Savvy's show as well, because I love her. She's been a big help and a source of inspiration. So yeah, Rahm wants to run. Everybody run. Listen, I know there's a lot of problems with Chicago, but listen to me. From the southern states to the northern states, West Coast and East Coast, you do not want liberals. You do not want this man. So, yeah, Rahm wants to run. So
he is the poster child for this, Kit. He is literally Mr. Establishment. He is Mr. Yes, he is literally what is he was part of all the ways the Democratic Party began to fail, right? He was part of Bill Clinton. He was part of Bill Clinton 2.0, also known as Barack Obama. He's going to be part of whoever Bill Clinton 3.0 is, which he might think is him. Right, no matter what,
and you know, I think it was Keaton who said that this is the Democrats' version of Donald Trump, and I think this could be it for 2028. So, what's going on here? I want to pull up this segment here from local Chicago news, Fox 32. So let's go ahead and pull this up here
tonight. That he's got his sights squarely set on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Everything. Or your next Democrat.
Speculation grows that
let me go and fast forward, because you don't want to get hit with real time with Bill Maher.
Oh my! And CNN's terrible. HBO's terrible. They will hammer you for anything.
Political analyst Tom Serafin says there's no doubt Rahm is running.
Positioning yourself to run for office never been a problem for Rahm. It's all about the rollout, and you're in the midst of the rollout.
I don't want to hear another word about the locker room. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom. You better.
Yes, hold on. Let me fast forward a little bit right here.
You see what he talked about in education with Maher. He's trying to tack towards the middle. He can't win on the left for the next presidential cycle.
Emanuel says his most impressive career accomplishment was the 8 years he spent as Chicago's mayor. But would voters in a national campaign be impressed?
That's big time. You know, Chicago's top 5 city in the world. I mean, maybe higher at some polling data.
Only has some decent pizza. The only problem with Chicago.
And the suffering and the hurt and the taxes and the people that are leaving the city is just painful for all of us.
Yeah, it's painful here in the city, and not to mention, it doesn't help that J.B. Pritzker has raised taxes for homeowners for 2025. And, you know, I mean, if they really want to kick out long-term residents, I mean, they're succeeding. I mean, even I am feeling the pain of it. And you know what? Just a side note. I mean, libertarians are kind of winning me over with the taxes because I wasn't happy paying this year's taxes. But anyways,
let me touch a couple pieces. Let me touch the tax piece real fast too. To be fair, obviously I don't like taxes, obviously, but the point is the average person doesn't mind paying taxes if they think they're getting something for it. That's the issue. Are they getting something for it? And I live in New York City. I pay insane taxes, and my subway doesn't even work. So I don't have. If you get basic services, most people are okay. Most people aren't libertarians. Most people don't mind paying taxes, right? I live in a real world. I get we're going to be paying taxes, but I think that's a critical piece. I agree with you. But here's a more important piece, I think. When it comes to Rahm, he is doing exactly what Barack Obama, exactly what Bill Clinton did. They are shifting to the right, but not on economics. Only social issues they're going right. They're moving towards the center there. So they pretend to be a progressive, or they pretend to be this leftist. They pretend to be this person. And then when they get in, they're just establishment again. Now, don't get me wrong. Bill Clinton was cool when he was on TV, when he was doing his saxophone on late night TV. That was cool. I got it. But he wasn't really a leftist, even though he pretended to be. Barack Obama, he was slick. Absolutely. But he wasn't really a leftist at all. These are people who are really just establishment guys who are able to be charismatic and move forward. Rahm saw both of those, and he thinks he's the next guy to do that. And here's the issue. And look, again, I'm not a leftist when it comes to economic policies, but it doesn't matter, because the reason why you will see me talk to leftists and not liberals more is because leftists actually want to solve things. They want to make things better. Liberals don't. Liberals like establishment. They just want to keep things the same. They want to talk nice. And some of them do, to be forward. You will find some Democrats who talk a great game. They don't do anything, but they talk a great game. So I do think we want to try to fix things. And with more free speech, we could have actual conversations. Now, the problem with Rahm is what Rahm's going to do is he's going to pretend like, I'm like you. I'm a real Democrat. I'm a progressive. See what I did? He's going to pretend that way, that if he wins this thing, he will be Bill Clinton 3.0. He will be
I want to add
the same thing.
I want to add on to this, because the reason why I brought up taxes is because under his 8 years as mayor of Chicago, and I hope a lot of people are listening, and this needs to be shared, because I have this fear that the Democrats will be more than happy to embrace it. Now, Democrats, if we want to commit political sabotage, that's on you. That's fine. But and you know what? I'm not going to tell people how to vote, because I think 2024 was my last election I'm ever going to vote in. It's going to take a lot to make me consider, like, okay, maybe I'll vote third party. Maybe I'll just sit this one out. But for everyone that's listening, you need to help spread the word about Rahm Emanuel and this is from the words of a Chicagoan. I've been here for I've been doing this now for 8 years, and my family's been living in this city for generations, from my great-grandfather, grandfather, my mother, and myself. That is, my roots are deep in Chicago. And let me tell you about Rahm Emanuel. Under his watch, taxation rose. Under his watch, gentrification rose. People being displaced, people being removed. He first got into office out of the good graces of the Obama administration. He was riding that wave. That's how he succeeded. His second term, his main challenger, who was the president of CTU, who was battling cancer at the time, very popular woman. She unfortunately passed away, and they quickly had to scramble to find a replacement, who was Chuy Garcia. That campaign wasn't up to snuff, and it didn't make the mark. And under his second term, more gentrification, more taxation, political corruption, abuse of power, policies hurting regular Chicagoans. 54 Chicago public schools shut down. Now, that is a death blow to a community. That is a check in the gut, a pure gut check to a community, because when a public school is shut down and when communities are denied resources, that causes what? Lower property value, increase in crime, more abuse, lack of accountability, infrastructure falling apart, and then, of course, then you have the great gentrification taking place, and the wrong people are moved out
into the streets,
and the right people are moved in.
And they're moved in, though, to make sure they move in and they make money move. Critical aspect. They come in and the government insures to lower property value, so that now people who are liquid can come in and buy up all that property and then raise property values after the people who lived there for 30 years get nothing
or more, or more. Because again, you have people like me who've been living in Chicago for generations, and it's like,
there we go.
In this city. And the beating heart isn't the tourist attractions of Chicago. It is the people, the families who live in Chicago. And he also shut down half of the mental health facilities in Chicago, shutting down half of the mental health facilities, causing a huge problem then for local law enforcement, because then now local law enforcement has to act like what? A social worker and a police force. It doesn't work.
In New York State, to be clear, in New York State, our largest mental health facility is Rikers Island Jail.
Oh, God.
I'm not making that up. That you're totally correct. Everything you're saying happened here in New York City too, brother. We're doing it. Where you and I live in the two big cities. The same stuff's happening. Yes, yes, and yes.
I also want to point out too that during the beginning stages of the quote unquote sanctuary city idea, look, people were still being rounded up by ICE and by other law enforcement officials under Rahm Emanuel, even when he was saying, "Oh yeah, sanctuary city," or humoring the idea of it. How do I notice? Because myself and Daniel, we covered the protest at the Gary Chicago International Airport in Indiana, where nonviolent migrants from Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, I think Kentucky, all rounded up on these buses and then flown out. If you listen, if you ever look for Gary Chicago International Airport, it's hiding in plain sight. I remember when me and Daniel drove there, it's like, is this an airport? It's like, yeah, this is an airport. And it's out there in plain sight. You could see it all right there. And not to mention, I also want people to remember the black sites. What are the black sites? Well, these were sites in which criminals, or either that people alleged or accused to be criminals, were taken and received a very intense interrogation. And that's me being polite with the YouTube guidelines. And then finally, finally, of course, there is the issue of the death of Laquan McDonald that his administration played a role in. And I want everyone to remember that this was Rahm was going to be secured a third term. If the Laquan McDonald situation didn't take place, we would have a third term, maybe a fourth term of Rahm Emanuel, because Chicago has no term limits, and we've only had two kings in Chicago, Old Man Daley and Daley Jr. Okay, that's we have perfected feudalism here in this city. It is a hyper.
We're pretty good with our Cuomos. We're pretty good with our Cuomos.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so yeah, you have House Cuomo. So I just want to pull up this video here. Don't try not to laugh because I do got an article here, but I just want to pull up this video here where this was the third town hall. This was in oh my goodness, this was 2018. My goodness, young Kit Capello. But there's a talk of where's Rahm Emanuel, because this was the beginning of the weakening of his power.
On July 25th, 2018, a mayoral candidate forum was held at Horner Park on Chicago's north side of the city. 9 candidates showed, except for one.
Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Yet again, Mayor Rahm Emanuel is not here. Again, he's not really participating in any of these forums or debates, as well as previous other forums. What kind of statement do you want to make? What is your response for Mayor Emanuel's lack of participating in these forums and debates?
This debate here? Yeah. Well, if I had been in his shoes, I wouldn't have came either. Because he's not like.
Well, he's not participating because he doesn't have a good story to tell, and he tries to avoid any opportunity to appear somewhere where he could possibly get booed.
Look, I think his absence from this incredibly important conversation that's happening all over the city speaks volumes about what he cares about and what he doesn't care about.
He's not going to do anything he's not forced to do. That's the nature of the man.
I mean, it fits his pattern. I mean, what's my statement on his lack of participation in any democratic exercise?
Well, I have nothing to say to the mayor. I mean, he's going to do what he's going to do.
I mean, I don't have anything to say. He's the incumbent. He has the right to. He's going to definitely have to be a part of it once we're on the ballot.
I think it's really inappropriate for him to not participate in these forums.
I think it's something that people should be aware of, in the sense of you have candidates out there putting themselves out. We're going to say things that might be agreed upon or might not be agreed upon, but we have to convey our message to the citizens of Chicago. And if somebody's not willing to do that, then they shouldn't be eligible to run for mayor.
If you want to be the mayor of this great city, you've got to get out there. You've got to meet people. You've got to listen to them. And you've got to demonstrate a level of compassion and empathy for the day-to-day struggles of everyday Chicagoans. And the fact that he won't come out in public in these kinds of forums and interact with the citizens, to me, is disqualifying.
He gets the office. He does his PR, has very controlled press events. If it's not controlled, he's not there. He's never going to show up to something like this. He needs it controlled. He needs it staged. He needs paid applauders.
But once the debates happen, I think we'll be able to expose Rahm for who he is.
For him, as I'm concerned, for Ronnie Man, close up 48 of 50 school. Close down a mental health institute. Okay? economic equality is not there in fairness. I would look, something wrong with him mentally. You gotta have something wrong with you, serious wrong with you mentally. I'm not for sure. I think he need to be in that.
Man, hey, I'm curious, kid. Who was that guy interviewing people? I don't know who that guy was. I've never seen that guy before.
Some dude. I don't know. I never heard of him before, but I assure you, he's been fired. But
I gotta tell you, I want to be clear. What I want people to have, regardless of your left-right paradigm, is an answer for people who are in trouble. Now, if that answer is more community-based, if it's more local-based, if it's more government-based, I don't care. People get in trouble. And when you just go, well, they're in trouble, I need to cut something, so I cut a hospital, or I cut a school, or I cut a mental facility. Okay, but then where do they go? What do they do? And sadly, our answer has been good luck, see you in the streets. That has been our answer, not here's another answer to help them in some way, shape, or form. And that drives me crazy.
Well, here's the thing, so Rahm Emanuel in this political article has been quoted saying, I've been back for 2 months. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not done with public service, and I'm hoping public service is not done with me. The people of Chicago have some words for you, Rahm Emanuel. But Emanuel, he's appeared on numerous political podcasts, the correct political podcast. He's got a nice, juicy contract with CNN, and is a regular and has a regular Washington Post column after returning from being ambassador to Japan under the Biden-Harris administration. At a Democracy Forward conference last month in February, my birth month, Emanuel said, I am done with the discussion of locker room. With the locker rooms, I'm done with the discussion of bathrooms. Why are you bringing that up? And we better start having a conversation about the classroom. In reference to study that showed that 2/3 of 8th graders aren't reading at grade level. He later stated that about the data, we can lead a discussion and force a topic onto the agenda of this country that's worthy of having a debate about. And so not long after that, he said he, especially being on Bill Maher's show, where he was being promoted as like, hey, here's our next guy. Here's the person that should be running as president. Here's the guy that should be carrying the Democrats' banner. But to everyone that's watching this, and I'm going to go in more detail about this on Savvy's show, of course, but this is somebody who you don't want. He's been extremely adversarial to progressives and independents. He has been in lockstep with the Democratic establishment.
Yep.
He has
100%.
a very shady track record as being mayor of Chicago. And I think a lot of people, if they're suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, might forget the fact of the damages that he's done to this city. And whether you're in a small town or a major city like New York or anywhere else, no matter what state you're in, red or blue, to the liberals out there, you do realize that you cannot control your primary. It was made abundantly clear in front of all of us, not once, not twice, but 3 times, especially in 2024, where Biden got the nomination, even though there were other candidates. There was no debates. As soon as it was revealed that he was senile, Kamala gets anointed right away. To everyone that's triggered or angry with the Democrats, this is where we have to start looking at third parties and independents, and Emanuel running, while on the one hand, Nick from RBN was saying this is content gold in some ways, especially, let's say,
he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
No, it is. But there's also the fact of that a lot of his past, Rahm Emanuel's stuff, could be swept aside. There was a whole documentary about the shooting of Laquan McDonald and how his administration allowed a lot of cover-ups happening, and there's a lot of things involved in the shadiness, the cover-up, and that is what was the checkmate to Rahm Emanuel. The reason why there wasn't a third term for Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel is because of the Laquan McDonald shooting that took place.
This is the reason why he's doing what he's doing, right? He's jumping right into the culture war stuff, and the reality is Trump does that too. You see Trump jump right into culture war. You jump in the culture war because you can fight on that, and then your policies don't matter, right? As long as you're saying, oh, gay people or trans people or whatever, you fight in the culture war issue. And when you fight there, I don't have to have policies because, see, I'm a better person than the other guy, or I'm good, like whatever the case may be. And Rahm is jumping on that because he doesn't have good policies. So he'll just jump on culture war stuff. And I see it all the time. But here's the issue. If you look at what's actually working right now, one of the reasons why Trump won, there are many of them. One of them was because he said he had a plan. Now, did he? Anyway, he said he had a plan. And when they asked Harris, what was your plan? She goes, same as Biden. That piece is not going to work. And if you look at right now, when you look right now at Bernie Sanders coming back out there, I mean, far too little, too late. Bernie Sanders already sold out. But the concept is still the good concept. He is out there saying, I have a plan to do something. And people are showing up. People are in trouble. And you said this, Kit, and you're right. We're in trouble in America. And if they don't give us a way out, we do desperate things. Desperate people do desperate things. When people are in trouble and someone puts their hand out and says, you're drowning, let me grab your hand, they don't care whose hand it is. Is it Trump's hand? Is it Bernie's hand? Is it a guy with a nasty armband's hand? Is it a lefty hand or right? They don't care. It's a hand and they're in trouble and they'll grab it. And that's one of the reasons why Trump won. Rahm doesn't have that. He's got to find that if there's any chance. He doesn't have that. The person who I think is going to make any impact against Trump is someone who has some kind of answers. Here, we'll do this, we'll do that. I've got a hand. I see that.
Yeah, and I just want to pull this up here. This is from Jamal Green. I'll be joining him on Sabby's show later tonight. Again, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Please tune in, because if you want to see a no-holds bar about the takedown of Rahm Emanuel, especially who he is. I mean, Jamal Green ran not once but twice for Chicago mayor. He's been he's been a regular guest on our show. He's been a source of information and one of the dauntless few here in this city to actually try and help regular Chicagoans. So he's somebody that's earned my respect a lot. So Jamal Green, this is a picture of Rahm Emanuel trying to shake somebody's hand. It's become like a meme in many ways. And there he is, hand left out in the open. This sums up how Chicagoans feel about Rahm Emanuel. He left with a mid-20s approval rating. President? Hell no. But the article is a diversion. We all know our governor, the richest politician in the country, is running a deal, has made for Rahm Emanuel to pull the national strings for him to put him somewhere else. Governor, Senate, we shall see. Because, again, it's maybe not running for president. It could be something else altogether, something completely different. And instead of running for president, could we see, oh God, Governor Rahm Emanuel, oh, we are done. Or
no,
this
is the problem, right? The people know him well in Chicago. The people know him well in Illinois, so he can't win there. A national race he can win at.
Well, there is the machine.
Couldn't win mayor of New York. Trump couldn't win governor of New York. Trump's from New York. He couldn't win mayor of New York. He could not win governor of New York, but he won the presidency. I think the similar thing could happen with Rahm if he has a chance. I'm not saying he can win this, but if he has any chance, he's looking at the Trump model. He's saying Trump is from New York. Trump couldn't win New York City. Trump couldn't win New York State. Rahm is thinking the same thing. I think he's thinking, if I can win anything, it's national.
You know, the thing is, on the one hand, you know, it was brought up that there are some similarities between Trump and Rahm, but there's a big difference. It's charisma and personality, okay? And what Trump is a showman. To be clear, he is 100%. A master show. He knows too well how to manipulate the media, and he's surrounded himself with people who also keep him updated with current media trends and everything else in between. Whether you like him or hate him, Rahm, on the other hand, doesn't have that kind of juice, pull, or push. And and again, you know, there's gonna be an election cycle, folks. So everybody calm down. Trump's gonna get rid of it. No, he's not. All right. But there is the fact of Rahm having an appeasement or appeal to other voters in different states. I would say to all those who watch this show, you need to spread the word. And I want to pull up this video here because this was during the Laquan McDonald shooting. This was also during the final days of Rahm's mayoralship, where protesters were, you know, yelling at him. And this was at City Hall. This was a pretty big video here. YouTube didn't want too many eyeballs on it. I'm going to have to pause halfway through because there's a lot of swearing and profanity. But if you want to see how Rahm Emanuel responds, especially behind a solid glass window where this person speaking loud caught his attention, this is how Chicagoans feel about Rahm Emanuel. In 3, 2, 1.
We don't respect you. It's okay. We don't respect you. We've all you can go back to your phone because we've all been screaming, clapping, and making noise
this his last year?
No, this was 6 years ago.
Okay.
All right, I want to pause here. Actually, during that time when that man was ejected, now that's my colleague Daniel. That was 6 years ago. He was filming this. Now I'm a little bit further in the front. You can't see me, but I'm behind the pillar. I get a tap on the shoulder. I didn't say anything, and I was filming with my smartphone. Here's Daniel with the big camera. They single me out and say, "Hey, you got to go. You're causing trouble." I'm like, What did I do? And I'm like, they threw me out.
You were on the list back then, Kit. I was on the list.
It was Commissar Hans and Deputy Fritz. They threw me out. The political
yes,
police.
Exactly.
So that's what happened. And so I'm doing this segment because look, yes, does Rahm Emanuel have a lot of weight, and is there a lot of vacuum within Democratic leadership for him to obtain power? Yes, he can. He very well can. Is there a lot of political controversy surrounding Rahm Emanuel? Absolutely. And I think everyone needs to be reminded of his time and tenure as mayor of Chicago, as well as what he did under Bill Clinton's administration and under Barack Obama's administration. And we have to make it very clear.
Go ahead. An important piece here, if I could, Kid. It's an important piece for people to understand. Right now, the Democratic Party is still just doing orange man bad. That right now is still their entire right. They have not changed anything. It's just been orange man bad, right? And what I mean by that is, as long as he is able to win the Democratic primary, he will simply say, I'm not Trump. Trump is bad. And look, Trump is popular now. That's true. Well, relative to Republicans, right? Mm-hmm. He's popular now relative to Republicans and popular now relative to what he's been in the past. Will he still be popular 4 years from now? Odds are no, right? I mean, maybe, who knows? I can't read, I can't read people's minds, but the odds are he will not be. And the goal is for the Democrats right now, just get some guy who can yell orange man bad, who can say he's not the orange man. We'll get enough Democrats to come back to us and we'll win. I don't think that's the right answer. I don't think that's a smart answer, but currently that's what the Democratic Party has. They're literally, if you remember, James Carville said, just lay down and play dead. His words, not mine. He said, just lay down and play dead, wait until Trump collapses, and then they'll come flocking back to us. We don't have to change any policies, do anything. And they believe that right now. And I think that Rahm thinks I can be the guy to get to the front, and that's how I'll win. That's what he believes.
And I have to encourage everyone. You have to see just how horrible. It would be content gold. 2020. I'm thinking about 2028 now, and I got my own problems in 2025 going into 2026. So whatever. But I gotta say, in 2028, it's content gold. It's something to talk about. But then it talks about just how correct a lot of us were about the Democrats and how they will never, ever change as a private institution. And if you are a liberal voter thinking that somehow this is your answer to the Trump years, because remember, Trump has secured his immortality. He made that attempt in 2012, and people were joking about it. Then he ran in 2016. Then, of course, people still talked about him in the Biden-Harris administration, and now he's secured a second term. Now, what's the next solution? Rahm Emanuel. It's not going to be Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is too old to do anything anymore. It's over for Bernie. It's over for Bernie. It's never going to happen. But if Rahm Emanuel is the Hail Mary for the Democrats, I could see a lot of people being suckered in by it. But there's a cost to it. And as a Chicagoan, the cost, we're still paying for it to this day. And we are still witnessing the continuation of Rahm Emanuel's policies, from the failure of Mayor Lori Lightfoot and to now somebody who has achieved such a great tactic before. We're talking about Mayor Brandon Johnson being more hated than Lightfoot. That is something.
That's impressive.
That is impressive. Like, how'd you pull that off?
Yes.
All you have to do is not be hated. That's it.
Yes. Yep.
How'd you pull? You are an all-star special performer.
Yes.
And the thing is, like,
Absolutely.
I think maybe, unfortunately, with Lightfoot and Mayor Brandon Johnson and everything else has happened, people might have forgot about Rahm. He shut down 54 Chicago public schools, half the mental health facilities, gentrification and displacement, a raise in taxes, political corruption. These are things that every single American, no matter what state you live in, and yeah, you could joke like, aha, Chicago, you dealt with it. Do you want that man as president of these United States? Do you want to be hearing this talk, this conversation about it? You drill it in your heads. This is the time to be raising those red flags and be like, hey, Rahm, all this stuff that happened. And then on top of it, what derailed his campaign? It was the Laquan McDonald shooting that took place in 2019. That's what ended the third term for him. And I know I'm repeating it, but I got to drill it in people's heads so that you remember just why this is terrible, why this is bad. And I'm looking forward to talking with Jamal Green and Sabby later tonight. So everyone, just remember who Rahm Emanuel is.
What time and what channel?
It's going to be Sabby Sab Show. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And I encourage everyone across the political spectrum to watch, share, because this is going to be a big conversation. And I'm looking forward to talking about it.